Welcome to Phantom Mitchell. Today, we unravel one of the most baffling missing person cases in the UK, the disappearance of 16-year-old Ruth Wilson at Box Hill on November 27, 1995. This case is drenched in eerie contradictions, unsettling clues, and a chilling silence that has lasted for nearly 3 decades. A teenage girl vanishing without a trace from a well-known hiking spot should have left more answers. But instead, every discovery only raises more disturbing questions. Did she leave willingly? Was she escaping something or someone? And why did those closest to her hold back crucial details for years? Join me as we dissect the facts, theories, and strange anomalies of Ruth Wilson's disappearance. Ruth Wilson was a reserved yet intelligent 16-year-old with a love for music, books, and history. She attended a prestigious school and was known for her academic excellence. Growing up in the quiet village of Betchworth, Surrey, she seemed to have a promising future ahead. Yet, behind her composed exterior, something was deeply troubling her. Just days before her disappearance, she began acting strangely withdrawn, preoccupied, as if something weighed heavily on her mind. She confided in close friends about feeling lost and unsettled, but never revealed the reason. On November 27th, she left home for school as usual, but she never made it to class. Instead, she set a course toward Box Hill, a place she had no clear reason to visit. Why did she go there, and why did she buy a bouquet of flowers before vanishing? Box Hill is known for its breathtaking views and serene landscapes, but beneath its beauty lies a darker past. Over the years, it had been the site of numerous suicides and unexplained disappearances, a detail that would later add an ominous layer to Ruth's case. Witnesses reported seeing her arrive at a bus stop, carrying a bag and an odd bouquet of flowers, an unsettling detail that hinted at a symbolic farewell. But who were the flowers for? Herself, a lost loved one? Or was it part of a message no one could decode? When she reached Box Hill, it was already late afternoon, and the sun was beginning to set. The weather was cold, the paths deserted. She was last seen walking alone, deeper into the woods, as the daylight faded. That was the last confirmed sighting of Ruth Wilson. After that, she simply disappeared. When Ruth failed to return home that evening, no one panicked immediately. It was assumed she was staying with a friend or had lost track of time. But as the night stretched on with no sign of her, unease set in. Her parents called around, hoping to locate her, but no one had seen or heard from Ruth since the afternoon. The next morning, when she still hadn't returned, her family contacted the police. A search of her room revealed nothing unusual, no note, no signs of distress, no clear reason why she would vanish. But then, something strange emerged. Ruth had arranged for a taxi to take her to Box Hill. It wasn't a random detour, it was a deliberate trip. And yet, she never told anyone why. Why would a teenage girl, with no prior connection to the area, specifically choose to go there alone? And why would she bring flowers? As soon as police were informed, they launched a search in and around Box Hill. Officers, along with volunteers, combed the wooded terrain, hoping to find any sign of Ruth. The first unsettling clue was discovered quickly: her bag, left behind near the hill. Inside were her school books, but her wallet and personal items were missing. It seemed as if she had abandoned it intentionally. Yet, if she had planned to disappear, why leave behind only some of her belongings? And if she was in distress, why did no one hear cries for help? More questions arose when witnesses came forward. One man claimed to have seen Ruth sitting alone on a bench, staring into the distance, deep in thought. Another reported spotting her further up the hill, walking with purpose, as if she was heading toward a specific location. But to where, and for what reason? Ruth's parents, Ian and Karen Wilson, were devastated. They insisted that Ruth was not suicidal, though they admitted she had been acting differently in the days leading up to her disappearance. Then, a chilling revelation surfaced. Ruth had recently discovered a family secret that had shaken her deeply. She had just learned that the woman she believed to be her biological mother had actually passed away when she was a baby. The parents who raised her had kept this truth hidden for 16 years. This discovery had left Ruth confused, hurt, and lost. Was this revelation what pushed her toward Box Hill? Had she gone there to process her emotions, only to encounter something sinister? Or had she gone with the intention of never returning? As the search intensified, the police and Ruth's family were about to uncover more unsettling details that would turn this into one of the most perplexing disappearances in UK history. One of the strangest details in Ruth's disappearance was the bouquet of flowers she purchased before heading to Box Hill. It wasn't a common thing for a teenage girl to do before vanishing. Some believed it was a final gesture, a symbolic farewell. But if that were the case, why had she made plans for the following week? She had spoken to friends about future activities, showing no indication of wanting to leave forever. Investigators wondered if the flowers were meant for someone else, perhaps an unknown person she was supposed to meet. If so, who was it? Was there someone waiting for her at Box Hill that day? And did this meeting lead to something far more sinister? The taxi driver who took Ruth to Box Hill described her behavior as polite but withdrawn. She barely spoke during the ride and didn't seem distressed, yet there was an eerie sense of purpose in her silence. She specifically requested to be dropped off at the foot of the hill, a less common destination for passengers. When she paid her fare, she hesitated for a moment before stepping out into the cold air. The driver later recalled looking back in his mirror and seeing Ruth standing motionless, staring toward the wooded trail ahead. It was almost as if she was gathering the courage to proceed. Why did she choose this location, and was someone waiting for her there? As dusk settled over Box Hill, a witness reported seeing Ruth sitting on a bench, clutching her bouquet of flowers. She was alone, gazing into the distance, lost in thought. The witness found this strange, but didn't approach her. By the time another person passed the area just minutes later, she was gone. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. No one saw her leave, no one heard anything unusual, and there were no signs of struggle. The timing was baffling. One moment she was there, the next she wasn't. This eerie disappearance in a relatively open area led some to believe she had met someone who led her away. But who? Box Hill, though scenic, becomes treacherous after dark. The paths wind through dense woods, and the cliffs pose a deadly risk for those unfamiliar with the terrain. Yet, Ruth wasn't known to be an adventurous hiker, nor did she have a history of reckless behavior. If she wandered too far and got lost, why was there no trace of her? And if she had fallen, why was no body ever found? These unsettling questions pushed the search teams to expand their efforts, scouring every possible location where she could have ended up. But every day that passed without a clue only deepened the mystery. As investigators dug deeper into Ruth's life, they uncovered something chilling. Just weeks before she vanished, she had learned the devastating truth about her mother's death. The woman who raised her was not her biological mother. Her real mother had passed away when she was a baby. This revelation had shattered Ruth's world. Those close to her noticed her becoming more withdrawn, as if she were struggling with emotions too heavy to bear. Could this have driven her to leave everything behind? Or did someone exploit her vulnerability, luring her into a trap? As days passed with no trace of Ruth, the search efforts intensified. Helicopters scanned the area, dogs tracked possible scents, and volunteers combed every inch of Box Hill. Yet, there was nothing: no clothing, no personal belongings, no sign that she had ever left the area. The police considered every possibility. If she had run away, why leave without essentials like money or extra clothes? If she had been harmed, why was there no evidence of a struggle? The silence of the search was unnerving. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. One of the most unsettling aspects of Ruth's case was the discovery of her abandoned bag. While her school books were inside, her purse was missing. If she had intended to disappear, why not take the bag with her? And if someone else was involved, why would they only take her purse? Investigators speculated whether this was an attempt to stage her disappearance, a runaway case. But if so, who would go through such trouble? And why had Ruth carried flowers with her that day? The puzzle only grew more complex. In the days following Ruth's disappearance, reports surfaced of a suspicious man seen lurking around Box Hill that evening. Witnesses described him as middle-aged, wearing dark clothing, and behaving strangely. Some claimed he had been pacing near the trail where Ruth was last seen. Was he connected to her vanishing? Had she met with someone that night? The police followed leads, but without a name or clear description, the mysterious man remained just another ghost in this perplexing case. Ruth had always been responsible. If she were in trouble, wouldn't she have contacted someone? Her friends and family waited for a call, a letter, some sign that she was safe. But days turned into weeks, and the silence remained unbroken. It was as if she had walked off the face of the earth. If Ruth had planned to disappear, why had she told friends about her future plans? If she hadn't, then who had taken her, and why? A rumor began to circulate, one suggesting that Ruth had left a note behind, one that never reached the public eye. Some believed she had written a letter explaining her departure, but that it had been suppressed by someone close to her. Was this true? If so, why keep it secret? Others speculated that Ruth had reached out to someone before leaving, possibly arranging a meeting. If that were the case, did that person know more than they were admitting? The deeper people looked, the more questions emerged. What made Ruth's disappearance so unnerving was the complete lack of physical evidence. No witnesses saw her leave Box Hill, no security cameras captured her movements, and no one came forward with reliable information. It was as if she had stepped into the woods and simply ceased to exist. The eerie part: the area had been searched thoroughly, yet nothing was found. If she had simply run away, someone would have seen her boarding a train, hitchhiking, or checking into a hotel. But there were no such reports. Had she found a way to vanish intentionally, or did someone help her disappear? Years later, one of Ruth's friends made a chilling remark in an interview. They claimed Ruth had confided in them about going away for a while, but never explained where or why. This suggested that she may have been planning something, but to what extent? If she had truly wanted to disappear, how could a 16-year-old, with limited resources and no history of running away, pull off such a flawless vanishing act? And if she had trusted someone with this secret, why had they stayed silent for so long? Another unsettling detail emerged. A woman who resembled Ruth was reportedly seen in a nearby town days after her disappearance. The sighting was never confirmed, but it fueled theories that Ruth may have initially left willingly. If so, where did she go after that, and why had she not reached out to anyone? The idea that she had started a new life somewhere seemed unlikely, but the alternative that something sinister had happened was even more disturbing. Some believed Ruth had gone to Box Hill with the intention of taking her own life. The area was known for past suicides, and the purchase of flowers suggested a symbolic goodbye. However, this theory had one glaring flaw. If Ruth had ended her life, why was her body never found? The search was extensive, covering every possible location where she could have fallen or hidden. Yet, nothing turned up. Could someone have been involved in making sure she was never found? Or had she truly left the area that night? Ruth's parents made repeated public appeals, begging for any information about their daughter's whereabouts. They refused to believe she had simply vanished without a trace. As the years passed, their pain only deepened. Someone out there knew the truth, whether it was a friend, a stranger, or even Ruth herself. But whoever held the missing piece of this puzzle remained silent, leaving Ruth's family in an agonizing limbo. A disturbing rumor surfaced years after Ruth's disappearance. Someone had allegedly received a phone call from her. Though unverified, the claim suggested that Ruth had tried to reach out after vanishing. If true, this shattered the idea that she had died that night at Box Hill. Who did she call, and why didn't they come forward sooner? Could it have been a desperate attempt to ask for help? Or was she warning someone to stay silent? The lack of concrete evidence kept this theory in the shadows, but it added another layer to the mystery. Had Ruth been alive for longer than anyone thought? Over the years, multiple people claimed to have seen Ruth in different parts of the UK. Some were sure they had spotted her working in shops, walking through train stations, or living under a new identity. Yet every lead crumbled under scrutiny. None of the sightings could be confirmed, leaving investigators frustrated. It was possible that people simply wanted to believe Ruth was still alive, clinging to any chance that she had escaped a terrible fate. But what if, just once, one of those sightings had been real? Police strongly considered the idea that Ruth had met someone that day, someone who knew her well enough to convince her to leave. This person may have offered her a way out, promising safety or escape. But if so, why had they never come forward? Had Ruth misjudged their intentions, trusting the wrong person? Or had she planned to return but met an unforeseen danger? The idea that she had gone willingly only to be betrayed haunted investigators. Every theory about Ruth's fate led to troubling contradictions. If she had run away, how did she evade detection for so long? If she had died at Box Hill, why was no body ever found? If someone else was involved, why had they never been identified? There were too many loose ends, and each one led to more speculation. Was this a case of a perfectly executed abduction, or had Ruth been hiding in plain sight all along?
Ruth's parents never gave up hope, but as the years passed, their chances of finding answers grew slimmer. They held on to the possibility that their daughter had simply chosen to stay away, even if it meant never seeing her again. But deep down, they feared the worst. Every holiday, every birthday was a painful reminder of her absence. If she was alive, why had she never reached out? If she was gone, why had no one found her?
As the years dragged on, Ruth Wilson's disappearance became one of Britain's most perplexing mysteries. No new evidence surfaced, no one ever confessed to knowing the truth, and no remains were discovered. It was as if she had simply stepped out of existence. Unlike many missing person cases, there were no obvious suspects, no known threats in her life, and no clear reason for her vanishing. Some believed she had carefully orchestrated her disappearance, while others were convinced she had met a tragic fate. But without proof, all that remained was speculation and unanswered questions. Ruth's case bore eerie similarities to other unsolved disappearances. Teenagers vanishing without a trace, last seen in remote locations, often leaving behind belongings as if they planned to return. Was this part of a larger pattern, or just a tragic coincidence? Had Ruth unknowingly walked into danger, or had she been taken by someone who had done this before? Investigators explored every possibility, but nothing ever fit perfectly. The more they searched, the more the case felt like an unsolvable riddle. Many of the officers who worked on Ruth's case described it as one of the most frustrating of their careers. They had chased every lead, exhausted every possible theory, yet they were left with nothing but silence. Some believed that someone out there knew exactly what happened, but had chosen to keep the truth buried. Had Ruth's fate been sealed that night at Box Hill, or had she managed to start a new life, far away from the questions and pain? To this day, Ruth's disappearance remains a puzzle with too many missing pieces. The most accepted theories suggest she either ran away with help from someone, or was taken against her will. But the lack of evidence makes both possibilities feel like speculation. Did she escape a life she no longer wanted? Or did she fall victim to an unseen danger? Without new evidence, the truth may never be known. But one thing is certain: Ruth Wilson did not simply vanish without a reason. Somewhere, the answer exists. Decades have passed, but Ruth's case still captivates true crime followers, investigators, and those who wonder how someone could disappear so completely. Her family, though worn by years of heartbreak, still hopes for answers. The truth, whatever it may be, remains out there, waiting to be uncovered. Until then, Ruth Wilson's disappearance will remain one of the most haunting unsolved cases in modern history. Could a forgotten clue finally solve the mystery? Or will Ruth's fate remain forever unknown?